Good afternoon and thank you. My name is Randy Van Wagner and I'm the president here at Mohawk Valley Community College, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here as we gather here today to learn more about Governor Cuomo's 2015 Opportunity Agenda. Before we begin today's program, there are a few special guests that I'd like to acknowledge. Senator Joe Griffo, Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi, Oneida County Executive Tony Pacenti, and we have a few of our MVCC Board of Trustees, our Board Chair David Mathis, and Trustees Tony Colon and John Stetson. As part of the State University of New York system, MVCC plays a unique role not just in the lives and future careers of our students, but also as it pertains to supporting the economy and communities throughout the Mohawk Valley. For example, MVCC is participating in the SUNY Manufacturing Alliance for Research and Technology Transfer, a group of SUNY schools that are cooperatively developing a curriculum that trains students to succeed in today's advanced manufacturing workforce. It's a targeted way to give our students the skills they need to meet the challenges of the 21st century. And the project is benefiting from a $15 million investment from the governor's SUNY 2020 program. Another way that MVCC is partnering with the state to attract jobs and create new opportunities for our students is through the Startup New York program, which gives businesses the chance to operate tax-free on nearly 15 acres of vacant MVCC land. Governor, as always, we appreciate your continued support of the Mohawk Valley and community colleges like MVCC, and we look forward to hearing from you today. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our Oneida County Executive, who has collaborated with the Oneida County Board of Legislators over the past several years to make strategic and significant investments in Mohawk Valley Community College during the highs and lows of the last 8 years. Those investments have helped spur unprecedented growth in enrollment here at a time when our community needed it most. It is my pleasure to introduce MVCC Alumni of Merit recipient and Oneida County Executive Anthony Pacenti.
Thank you, Dr. Van Wagner, and good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and Governor, welcome again to Oneida County once more, and welcome to our community college, MVCC. It is great to have you here. You know, I've been in government for a long time now, but I've been county executive now for 9 years, and the first 4 was really kind of different when dealing with the state of New York. And I recently came back from a trip to Washington, meeting with the National Association of Counties and talking to leaders from around the country. And the first thing they said to me when we started talking was, well, you guys are really moving. New York State is back again. You guys are back in the game and really strong. And we're back in the game because of a great leader at the state level, Governor Cuomo, and I want to thank him for that. Just look around our area, look around at Nano Utica, look around at the Utica Memorial Auditorium, the investment that's been made there. Look at the UAS systems, the unmanned aircraft in Griffiths that is growing each and every day, and the investment by the state there. Look at Startup New York, as the president mentioned. These are the things that are happening, and look at what's happening in upstate New York. And it is because we have a governor who's a great partner. It is because of the partnership that we have with our state legislative leaders, the Board of Legislators, cities throughout, all of the leaders of this great community and this great state. So I look forward, again, to continuing to move this state forward, as I said time and time again, and I look forward to doing it with the governor as a great partner, and I want to thank him for being here today. Look forward to hearing him. As always, this opportunity agenda has a great deal for upstate New York, and we are very proud and pleased to be a part of it, and I want to thank him again. And with that, I'll turn it over to the other Anthony, my twin, Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi, a great partner. Please join. Welcome.
I'm going to get Tony 10 points in his next election. I'll tell you that right now. Although he didn't do the short, he did the short version of my introduction. So thank you. Well, welcome everyone to MVCC. Welcome Governor Cuomo. It's great to have you back here in Utica and the Mohawk Valley region. I did a little research in anticipation of your visit. Last time you were at MVCC, I think it was about a year ago, and the Utica Comets, our beloved Utica Comets, were 18 and 30. They were in last place in the division, okay? This year, they are 28 and 13. They're first place in their division, second place in the AHL, and well on their way to the playoffs. So we hope if they make the playoffs, you come back and see a game. But the arrival of the Utica Comets is just one example of a public-private partnership that is working in our region, and there's so many other great examples of this. You look at the Nano Utica project in Marcy, you look at the harbor here in Utica, you look at the cybersecurity and the unmanned aerial systems in Rome at Griffiths. These are examples of state investments in our area that are working, and these investments are due in large part to Governor Cuomo's commitment and his focus on the Mohawk Valley region and the upstate economy as a whole. For the first time in my life, I grew up here in the 80s and 90s, periods of decline here in the Utica-Rome region. But for the first time in my life, I'm seeing private developers, private investors coming into this area, making investments, taking risks, because they see the state of New York making investments in this area. And it's simple. When the developers are investing, they see the state investing. And it's because we have a governor and we have a friend in Albany who is committed to helping turn this region around. The foundation, I believe, has been laid, and now it's time to build on that foundation. The governor has come out with some bold initiatives in the budget this year. The $1.5 billion Upstate Revitalization Fund could be a real game changer for our region. $500 million infused into our regional economy will do wonders. And what I see in 10 years from now is a Mohawk Valley region that is a hub of high-tech manufacturing. You have Nano in Albany, you have Nano in Utica-Rome about to come online, and in between there is the Mohawk Valley region. And this money will certainly help reinvigorate our area, reinvigorate this part of the state, and do wonders for the upstate economy. So we want to thank the governor for his bold leadership. We want to thank him for being here in Utica today. I want to introduce my friend, my colleague. I had to say a lot of great things about him. Last time I was here with him, I think I offended him a little bit. So this time, I'm not going to say anything bad about him, because he is truly a great leader here in the region and a great state senator, Senator Joe Griffo.
He talked about my age the last time, but I'm like a good wine, right? And when you were talking like that, Palmieri got all excited because he walked in and he thought you were mentioning him when you said you're a good friend. We're really here for a big announcement today. I think, and the governor's going to share this. Dave Mathis is going to be the new host of The Daily Show. And Chris Cuomo could be, if we're lucky, the host and the new anchor at NBC. We could get somebody. Welcome back, Governor. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here today in the Mohawk Valley. And I want to thank you for taking time to travel across the state. This is a diverse state, a big state with a lot of diverse views and interests. And when you head this government, you've got to make sure that you want to not only present your message, but that you're willing and ready to listen to the other viewpoints across the state, to engage the people of the state, and to be aware of the issues and concerns that are confronting New Yorkers. You have done that during the 4 years that you have served as our governor. I thank you for that, and I appreciate that. We've also accomplished a lot, as you've heard here, a number of things over the last 4 years that have benefited not only the Mohawk Valley, but the entire upstate region, whether it was on-time budgets, restoring respect for the people in the process in our government, focusing on tax relief with an emphasis on the economy, all of these things making New York a more affordable and better place to live and work. That's what it's all about. The governor has gotten that, and under his leadership, we have been able to come together to do things and get things done. We see it here in Marcy and in the Utica area, whether it's the clean room and nanotechnology investments, whether it's the merger at SUNY Poly, which was acclaimed just the other day nationally for what its potential is and what it already has been able to offer, the investment in Homeland Security, and the continued community reinvestment in cities like Utica and Rome, and we see it at the Aud, and we talked about that today. All of this is important, and we can make 2015 another year that we can cite accomplishment and we can achieve success. And Governor, I'm positive that we can do that with your leadership. You know, February snow is going to melt into March. And at this time of year, people across the state are going to embrace madness, March Madness. And as a fan and competitor himself, the late Governor, Mario Cuomo, as well as this governor, are well aware that the gathering that brings individuals from different regions and backgrounds together every March. March is a time where newcomers and veterans, underdogs, favorites, the elite and the sweet, talking heads and fast talkers all come together. They're armed with game plans, strategies, and they expect success. They're all here until the very end, striving, contributing with mutual respect and a lot at stake in order to achieve that success. I think you probably think I'm talking about the NCAA tournament, but I'm talking about the corridors of the Capitol too. This is an opportunity for us to all come together under your leadership, where we can achieve and share in that one shining moment, which will benefit all New Yorkers. And I'm confident, as a result of your past experiences and continually working together, that this governor will pay attention, he will listen, and he will exercise leadership to bring everyone together that will benefit all of New York. So I'm proud to introduce him and have him here in Utica today, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you very much. What beautiful remarks from Senator Griffo, weren't they? Really beautiful. Well done. You have a big advantage here because you have a really extraordinary team of elected officials. And what's even better is they all work together. Senator Griffo has been a friend of mine for a long time. Assemblyman Brindisi, they are a great team working together. And they put their own politics aside to do what's right for the people, which is always refreshing to see. That's not always true, even today in different parts of the state. But you have a great tandem who work for you in Albany, Senator Griffo and Assemblyman Brindisi. Let's give them a round of applause. It's great to see the mayor. The mayor came because with this group, you don't want to be out of the room when they're here because they may go after you. The mayor's doing a beautiful job. Pleasure to be with you, Mr. Mayor. Your county executive keeps hitting new heights. He's the president now of the State County Executives Association. So I was with them last week in Washington with the National County Executives. And cream rises to the top, and he is an extraordinary professional. We should give him a round of applause. And Doctor, pleasure to be back with you once again. You know, the Mohawk Valley Community College, like the SUNY system all across the state, is going through a transition because educational institutions are no longer just educational institutions. They're now also economic development institutions. You look at where the jobs are coming from now. They're coming from the institutions of higher learning. Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley was Silicon Valley because of Stanford. And the university births ideas, and the ideas come out of the university and then become private companies, called commercialization. But it's a transition for the educational institution. And some educational institutions are resistant. But you have been doing great work here at this community college, and that's thanks to the president. And let's give him a round of applause. I want to talk to you today about the plan for the state for this year. As you heard from the senator and the assemblyman, I presented them with a plan, and we're discussing it now in the legislature. It's a discussion that is important because it does make a lot of changes in the state, and it's a discussion that you should be part of, and that's why I'm here. I want you to hear what we're thinking about, give you our ideas, and then I hope it's a process that you participate in because that's what makes it work. I also agree with all of my colleagues. Past 4 years have been a good 4 years for the state. There's no doubt but that we have been making progress, and you can take almost any indicator over the past 4 years. 4 years ago, we had unemployment which was up near 9%. Now it's down to about 5.8%. The state had terrible credit ratings. Now we have the highest credit ratings we've had in years. Upstate was in decline. Now upstate is rebuilding almost across the board. Taxes and spending were always going up every year. It's the one thing you could count on from Albany. They were going to spend more money. We have now spent less and taxed less than we have in 50 years. Local property taxes were going up, on average about 6.8%. Now property taxes have been capped. We've had a period of historic progress that we're proud of. The sense of New York as the place of opportunity is back. What County Executive Pacenti heard in Washington, I'm hearing all across the country. There's a sense that the momentum in New York is back and the energy is back in New York. And our question this year is, how do we take that energy, that momentum, and how do we take it to the next level? And that's what we call the opportunity agenda. Economics, education, public safety, and ethics reform. And we begin with economics because the engine that pulls the train is business. It is about creating jobs. And if we're creating jobs and we're bringing business in, we'll figure out everything else. If an individual knows they have opportunity and they have a career right here, that brings hope and that brings energy. If local revenues are coming in, that means the mayor has money to do what he has to do, the county executive has money to do what he has to do. But it's about getting that economy running. And right now we created over 500,000 new jobs in 4 years. We need more, and we need to create jobs faster. To keep that economy running, it means we have to continue to cut taxes. If you ask me, the one big difference in New York today versus 4 years ago, people think that today New York is actually a business-friendly state. We're no longer the tax capital that if you move to New York, they're going to tax you and tax you and tax you until you have to move out. They understand that we get that we have to work with business, and we want business here, and we've changed our attitude. And not just because we said we changed our attitude, because we cut taxes every year for the past 4 years. And they know it. Now, how do you cut taxes? You spend less money. And then you have the differential, and you can cut taxes if you spend less. And that's about fiscal discipline, and we've had it for 4 years, but you have to continue it all the time. You know, you lose 5 pounds, but every time you sit down at the table, you have to bring that discipline with you because you can go the other way very quickly. The same way with spending money. We've had a great 4 years, but we have to continue that discipline this year. How did the New York State get into trouble? This one chart says it all, in my opinion. The state of New York, for 50 years, spent more money than the people in the state were earning. You think about that, because it doesn't sound like it's possible. I have this economics lesson. I have 3 teenage daughters. The outflow must equal the inflow. There has to be a balance. You cannot spend more than you make, right? They're having trouble with this concept because it goes out a lot easier than it comes in. But the two have to balance, except if you're the state of New York. Then you can spend literally more than the people were making. And that's why people feel that the state has been oppressive and always raising taxes, because the state has been oppressive and always raising taxes. And that was 50 years. And that's what brought New York to where we were, and that's what we had to reverse. And that was hard, because 50 years of experience is hard to turn around. That's what we did, and that's what we have to maintain. Not only did we turn it around, but we turned it around dramatically. The state was spending about 6.8% more every year. We brought that down to 1.3%. We took that differential, and we cut taxes. And we didn't cut taxes a little bit. We cut taxes a lot. Middle class up to $300,000, so that's a big middle class. Lowest tax rate since 1953. 1953 is before I was born, so that was a long, long time ago. Lowest corporate taxes since 1968. Lowest manufacturing tax since 1917. So if we can continue to control our spending this year, we'll have more money to do a tax cut, and that's what we need to do. And I propose for this year a small business tax cut. Why? Because that's where the jobs are coming from. They're now coming from small business. You don't get one company that has 1,000 employees anymore. It's harder now. You have small businesses with 10, 15 employees, 20 employees, and you have to create a lot of them to have that impact. And we want to make the statement that New York is home to small business and friendly to small business. We have a small business tax that now is at 6.5%. We want to reduce that to 2.5%, which would be the lowest tax rate for small business in 100 years, which would be a very powerful statement. We also have to cut property taxes, because property taxes are the most oppressive tax in the state. When you hear about people moving out of New York, it's because of the property tax. We have the highest property taxes in the United States of America. I mean, think about that. It's not just high relative to New York. They're the highest in the country. And it's a problem of upstate New York. By percentage of home value, upstate New York has the highest property taxes in the country. In some communities which are least able to afford it, we have the highest property taxes. We've made progress. 3 years ago, we capped the property tax increase at 2%. Then we froze the amount it could go up. This year, we actually want to cut property taxes by having the state send a check back to homeowners, total of $1.7 billion, which would be 1.3 million homeowners, an average of $1,000 per homeowner. $1,000 is a big deal, and that'll make a difference in the lives of the families of New Yorkers and will be a big signal that we're making real progress. We also want to extend that to renters in the state also. In terms of growing the economy, in 1950, President Eisenhower put in the road system, the highway system, and he said if we have a highway system, then business can develop. The highway system of the next generation is going to be the internet and is going to be broadband. If you don't have high-speed broadband access in your community, in 5, 10 years, you're just not going to be competitive. A business will not locate at a place that doesn't have broadband. A person won't want to live in a place that doesn't have high-speed broadband. That is the future, I am sure of it. Right now, we have a problem. The orange area in the state, which as you can see is most of the state, geographically, does not now have access to high-speed broadband. Why? Because the private companies don't want to put in broadband in areas that don't have high density. They did it in downstate New York. They'll do it in cities, but they don't want to do it in suburban or rural communities because it's not cost effective to them because they don't get enough households for the cost of the installation. We've been working with the private sector companies, and we said we will joint venture with them and put in broadband, high-speed broadband access all across the state by 2018 for a $1 billion investment. I think it is an investment that is worth making. I think it'll give this state a big head start on other states in the country. We'll be the only state in 2018 that has 100% access to high-speed broadband, and that is going to be, I think, the economic vehicle going forward. As you heard from the county executive, we have focused on upstate New York for the past 4 years, and we're going to continue to focus on upstate New York for the next 4 years. And we have been unique in our focus on upstate New York. The state government in Albany was too focused, in my opinion, on downstate for too long. And what happened in upstate was the economy started to turn, and the big manufacturers started to leave upstate New York, base closings, etc. And the state really never stepped up to help. Why didn't they? Well, first, the state government wasn't working all that well, so they weren't really in a position to step up. And second, the state government was too focused on downstate New York. That's where the money was, that's where the people were going, and upstate New York was largely abandoned. My point 4 years ago was this is really one state, and we have to make sure the economy works and works all across the state, and we have to stop that downward cycle in upstate New York, which is you lose business, you lose people, then you lose political power, and then it reinforces itself. We have reversed the cycle. Not only has the economy turned around, but the economy has turned around all throughout the state. The old story used to be New York City's doing better, but upstate is doing worse. Now, if you look at these numbers, this is the drop in unemployment over the past 4 years. Unemployment has come down all across the state, and it's come down evenly all across the state. So it's down 2.5% in Manhattan, but it's 2.5%, 2.4% central New York, 2.8% in the North Country. So the economy is coming back, and it's coming back all across the state. The Regional Economic Development Councils have been doing great work. I want to keep them going, and I want to launch a $1.5 billion competition for the best economic development regional projects going forward in upstate. 1.5 would be 3 $500 million awards. Where do we get $500 million? $500 million is about the money that we invested in Buffalo over the past 4. And if you want to talk about a turnaround story, it is Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, we started with a high priority because Buffalo had the worst economic problems in the state. Not even close. In terms of poverty rate, joblessness rate, sense of economic depression, Buffalo was the worst. The economy in Buffalo had been going down literally for decades. You were like on the 3rd decade of economic decline. And we focused on Buffalo for the past 4 years. We started a program called the Buffalo Billion, had a nice ring to it. And it was a point that this is going to be different and we're going to focus. We spent about $500 million. And the city of Buffalo and Western New York is turning around. And I'm telling you, this is a town that you would never have believed you could turn around because of the depth of the problems. We want to take that same approach and have 3 awards, 3 $500 million awardees from the Regional Economic Development Councils. The Startup New York has to work because it's very simple. They are tax-free zones located next to SUNY buildings and other colleges. So for those new jobs, the new businesses that might move somewhere else because we have high taxes, Startup New York zone, 0 taxes for 10 years for any new business that stays. So people who say, well, I'm moving to Florida, I'm moving to Texas, the taxes are lower. They're lowest in the Startup New York zone. And the good news is you don't even have to move to Florida or Texas. You stay right here and you pay the lowest taxes in the country. Tourism has been a big economic generator for New York. We've been advertising upstate New York heavily. New York City gets 50 million tourists a year, 50 million internationally. But they all came to New York City. They didn't know there was anything north. So we've changed the I Love New York campaign nationally and internationally to advertise what we have in upstate New York, and it's brought back a tremendous investment and return. We have $2 million in this year's budget for Nano Utica. That assumes the senator and the assemblyman support it. If they don't, I'll take it out. Okay, I'll remember that. And we also we have a proposal in the state to make sure the economy is doing well for everyone on the entire spectrum of economics. And part of that is raising the minimum wage. We raised the minimum wage once. The minimum wage, the concept is if you work, you can support your family, you can pay for food and rent, and you can live out of poverty if you're working full-time with the minimum wage. The minimum wage is not there yet in New York, and we want to raise it to $10.50, which I believe is the minimum amount you need to actually raise a family with a semblance of dignity in this state. And we want to do that as part of this budget. We have a very dramatic education reform program. We've been talking about reforming public education for a lot of years. It has three basic pieces. We want to recruit the best teachers, we want to close failing schools, and we want to invest in early education. To recruit the best teachers, we have a very simple idea. If you will give us 5 years as a school teacher and you do well in school, we will pay your SUNY or CUNY college tuition, period. We want to get the best, then recruit the best. You give us 5 years as a New York school teacher, public school teacher, we'll pay your college at SUNY or CUNY if you're a top graduate. That's how we get high-achieving young people to come into the teaching profession. And if we believe in education, as we all say, well then, let's invest in education and give an incentive to get the best teachers in the classroom. For the existing teachers, we have currently a teacher evaluation system that I believe needs to be improved. I think everybody believes it needs to be improved. And with a real teacher evaluation system, we want to incentivize the high performers. For those who need help, we want to get them help. For those who are chronically failing, we want to remove them from the classroom. We have a current teacher evaluation system that isn't accurate. I think that's a unobjectionable statement. We have 38% of our high school students are college ready, but 98% of our high school teachers are rated effective. 30% of the 3rd to 8th graders are proficient in English, and 99% of the teachers are effective. 35% are effective in math, but 98% of the teachers are rated effective. By definition, you can't have 98% of the teachers effective if the students aren't, right? 38% of the students are, but 98% of the teachers. When you have 98, 99% of the teachers, or any profession, all rated effective, it means the evaluation system is not accurate. And this one is not accurate. What do we need? An accurate, fair evaluation system for teachers. For the teachers, as well as the student and the parents. The teacher's point is they should be evaluated fairly, and they're 100% right. From a student and a parent point of view, you want to have the teacher evaluated fairly. And that's what we want to develop, a fair evaluation system. Once we have a fair evaluation system, then I want to incentivize people to be top performers by having the state give a high-performing teacher a $20,000 bonus on top of their salary, which the state will pay. You want a teacher to work hard, you want the teacher to stay after school and work with the students and spend extra time, fine. If that teacher does well, here's a $20,000 bonus. We'll call you a master teacher, and you help mentor the other teachers who aren't as doing as well. Teachers who are struggling in the classroom, the state will pay to get them support programs to improve their skills so they can do better. For teachers who were struggling, we got them help, that didn't work, and who are chronically ineffective in the classroom, which means for a period of years, at one point, we're going to suggest that that person should not be a teacher in the classroom. Now, today, it is virtually impossible to fire a public school teacher. The school districts don't even try because the process is so hard. There are teachers who are accused of sexual assault of students who we can't get out of the classroom. Now, the teachers' union says, I don't like teachers. I love teachers. My mother was a school teacher. I love my mother. I respect the profession. That's why I'll pay the college tuition to get people into teaching. I'll give the high performers a bonus. But if a teacher is failing year after year after year, then we have to remember that the education system is about the student, not about employing a teacher. And if a teacher is failing, then do the right thing by the student. Because just having a teacher employed who has failed to perform for the student is not the point of the system. And that's not because I don't love teachers. It's because I do love teachers. And any teacher who cares about the profession would be the first one to say someone who can't do the job shouldn't be doing the job. And it's about our young people and our children, and they come first. That's what the education system is all about. Second point is we have to fix the failing schools. We have failing schools in this state that have been failing for decades. They tend to be in poorer parts of the state. They tend to be schools with more minorities. There are 178. 77 have been failing for more than 10 years. Just think about that. More than 10 years, schools are failing. We know they're failing, and we just keep sending students. 250,000 students went to failing schools. That's 250,000 of our children we sent to schools that were failing. I say at one point, enough is enough. When a school fails for 3 years, turn over the management of that school to somebody else. A not-for-profit, another school district, the state, but just do something else so you don't have that same failing school year after year after year. Third, we want to invest in early education. Every study says the younger you get children into school, the better. The younger brains grow the most. We want to finish universal pre-K for 4-year-olds, and we want to start pre-K for 3-year-olds and start developing a program for 3-year-olds. Studies say that the 3-year-olds have the largest gains in cognitive and behavioral skills. This is a bold educational reform plan. The budget's supposed to go up for education 1.7%. That's what we agreed to last year, a formula that would say 1.7. I said to the legislature, if they pass this reform plan, I would support an increase up to 4.8%, which is almost 5%, because with the funding and these reforms, I think we could transform the education system. In terms of public safety, there is a situation that is going on in this country that has not gotten the attention it deserves, and that is the rate of sexual assault on college campuses, primarily men assaulting young women. New York now has 11 colleges that are being investigated for their treatment of sexual assault. That's more than any other state in the country, which is a little deceiving because we probably have more colleges than most states, but it is not a good fact. It's a national crisis, but it's a problem right here in the state of New York, and it's a situation that we should lead on, in my opinion. Last year, we approved a policy for SUNY schools statewide that said 2 things. Number 1, there has to be affirmative consent between both parties who are having a sexual relationship. Affirmative consent of both parties to that sexual relation. And the second is, if a woman says she was a victim of a sexual assault, she has the right to talk to the police and have the police investigate the claim. Now, you would think that's obvious. Many campuses, when a woman comes and says, I've been a victim of a sexual assault, the campus says, we'll handle it internally because they don't want the publicity, which is damaging to the school, etc. So they handle it as an academic matter, and they have the campus security handle the matter. And the campus security talks to the man, and the man has one story, and the woman has another story, and campus security says they'll handle it as an academic matter, and they have a panel of professors who then meet with the woman, etc. I understand the incentive for the campus is to keep it quiet. I understand the publicity is wrong. But I also understand in this data, a very small number of men are thought to be committing the sexual assaults but a very high rate of recidivism. Why? Because we're not treating it like the crime it is. So a man is getting away with it, and they're doing it again and again and again. And that's why you have the high rate of recidivism. The woman did nothing wrong. The woman was a victim. I understand the campus's feeling that they want a right to privacy. I understand the woman's right that she has a right to fairness and justice. And the woman's right trumps the campus's right. So we want to make sure the woman knows if she wants to handle it as an internal matter with the campus, fine. But if she wants to go to the police, she has the right to go to the police, the local police, the town police, or the state police, and she has to be informed of that right at the time that she makes the complaint. We have this now on SUNY campuses. I think it should apply to every college in the state. And I think if New York passes this law, you're going to see this law go right across the country. Because the only reason it's not the law of the land now is it hasn't gotten the attention it's deserved because people have tried to sweep the issue under the carpet. And it's time we stand up for female victims of sexual abuse. We do it in New York. You watch, it'll become the law of the land, and it should be the law of the land. Extreme weather is the new normal, as you know. It seems like every few months, Mother Nature has a new surprise for us. And the frequency is way, way up. My past 4 years as governor, I've seen weather emergencies that no other governor has seen. I'll give you a frightening statistic. My father was governor for 12 years. God rest his soul. Those 12 years, he had 11 federally declared disasters. In 12 years, he had 11. In my 4 years, I had 12. So the frequency is way, way up. And they can be a matter of life and death. We're starting an online coordination system between the state and the county and the federal government so we can coordinate response, and we can also coordinate billing from FEMA. And we're also installing a state-of-the-art weather detection system. This state will have the most sophisticated weather detection in the country because weather detection is no longer whether or not you bring the umbrella to work. We now make big decisions off weather predictions. We send people, we send equipment, et cetera. And being able to detect weather locally, how much rain is coming, when are the streams getting high, you can tell when there's going to be flooding and where, which is a very useful tool. Last piece is ethics reform, which is in many ways the most important piece. We've had great progress over the past 4 years. Senator Griffo spoke about 4 budgets on time. We're very proud of that. But with all the progress we made, there's been a shadow over the progress, which is this constant stream of headlines from Albany about scandals that are going on. And on one hand, I can come tell you, look at all the great progress we made, jobs, et cetera. On the other hand, you open up the newspaper in the next few days and there's another scandal in Albany. And those scandals actually erode the trust that you have for government. And if it erodes the trust, it erodes government's capacity. I proposed a very dramatic ethics reform bill with the legislature that I think makes New York a national leader. It has the strongest campaign finance disclosure, pension forfeiture for legislators who commit felonies, reduce the legislators' per diems to the actual cost of traveling to Albany. You shouldn't make money just driving to Albany. Stop the use of campaign funds for personal expenses, and what I call ultimate disclosure. Ultimate disclosure gets to the essence of the problem, because the problem is always the same thing. The legislature is a part-time job. Part-time, they work as a legislator. Part-time, many work as attorneys in law firms. And the question is always the same. Who were your clients in the law firm, and were your clients paying you for your actions as a legislator? So were you representing the people in your district, or were you representing your clients? Right now, the situation is you don't know who the clients were at the law firm, which really makes no sense. The current law, you give someone $10 in a campaign, they have to disclose all the campaign filings to make sure there's no conflict. But you employ someone as a lawyer, you never know, that money goes right in their pocket, you don't know who the clients were. Ultimate disclosure says, have your law practice, have your business, whatever it is, but disclose who your clients are and why they're paying you. So people know there is no conflict. And just showing people, I think, will go a long way towards restoring trust. And secreting it does the opposite. When you don't want to tell me, now I'm more suspicious. And that's what ultimate disclosure says. And I've said to the legislature, I think that's the most important thing that we have to get passed in this budget, is pass that ethics reform. I'm proud of 4 on-time budgets. I'd like to do 5 on-time budgets. More, I want to pass an ethics reform that when you read it, you say, finally, there's a real common sense, clean ethics bill. Now we can see everything. Now I know that I can trust the government. If you have more trust, we have more capacity. If we get this plan done, lowers taxes, which will create more jobs, reforms education, New York will be safer and fairer with those sexual assault laws, and government will be more trustworthy. But that assumes we get the plan done, and the plan is very bold and requires a lot of change. And change is very hard. Always, it's very hard. I remember when I was HUD secretary, I was talking to a mayor once, and there was public housing in the city that we had built in the 50s, and all these high-rise buildings, all located together, a lot of poor people in one place, and this neighborhood and these buildings were terrible. High crime, high drug use. The mothers used to have the children sleep in the bathtub because they were afraid of bullets, and the bathtub was the safest place. And this had gone on for decades. And I said to the mayor, you know, we've tried everything. I want to take the buildings down. And the mayor said, you know, that'll be very disruptive. I said, yes, short term it will be disruptive. But long term it will be better. And he said, but I don't want to go through that disruption. I said, I know it's going to be difficult. But what is the alternative? To continue doing what we've been doing? And we know that doesn't work. We know the crime, we know the problems, we know the cost. And that is human nature. Wasn't that mayor? That was all across the country. Change is hard. The education system isn't working. I know, but if I go to change it, then people are going to get upset and people are going to get nervous because people like it the way it is. I know, but if we don't go through that period of disruption, then we're going to continue doing what we know doesn't work. Failing schools for 10 years. And you want to keep sending the child to the failing school? What do you think is going to happen different? 250,000. I know, but I don't want to go through the disruption. The teachers' union is going to yell at me. I know, but that's the only way you make change. It's human nature. The couple at the breakfast table. One looks at the other and says, you know, we have to make change. Yeah, they mean you have to make change. They're doing fine. You are the problem. They're going to continue doing what they're doing. To get change done on a large scale is really, really hard. And I'm asking, change the education system, change the ethics system, change the campus policy on how we treat young women who believe they've been a victim of sexual abuse, and let's change all of this at once. And they're saying it's a lot of change. That's why I'm here today. And I understand it's hard. And that's why I need your help. I've spoken to the legislature about this. Anthony knows, Joe knows. I've talked to them until I'm blue in the face. You know whose voice is more important than mine? to Anthony and to Joe? Yours. Because they represent you. So your voice counts more than mine. And your voice needs to be in this discussion and needs to be in this debate. And your voice, one way or the other, frankly, should be heard because this is big change. I believe we've had a great 4 years. I believe this builds on the past 4 years. Everyone agrees you feel an energy out there and an activity out there that you haven't felt in 30, 40, 50, 60 years. When was the last time you heard about new industries coming to Utica, Rome? New companies investing? It's been generations. It's working. It hasn't been easy, but it's working. And our challenge now is to keep that momentum going and take it to the next level. You can feel it. The arrows are pointed in the right direction. We just want to keep it going, and we want to take it to a new level. I believe if we pass this plan, you're going to see this state, the Mohawk Valley, not go back to where it was. It'll go back to a place that is different, but a place that is better. And that's what this is all about, and that's what we want to do together. Thank you, and God bless you.
Governor Cuomo, I want to say thank you. We so appreciate the opportunity, always appreciate the opportunity to host you, and appreciate the work that your team does in advance to get everything set. We always enjoy having you here, and definitely want to thank you for engaging all of us in the conversation, thought-provoking opportunity agenda, and look forward to seeing it through. So thank you very much. This concludes the program. Thank you all for coming.